Now, as we know, and this we're moving on now. As we know, Kyrie used to play for Boston. Um, it didn't go too well. Of course, you remember the whole infamous going in front of the fans and be like, I'll be here, or I'll resign if you'll have me," and then he leaves next, you know. And of course that puts a sour taste in people's mouths. And then, in the playoffs, the Nets is washing the Celtics, and of course the fans are booing Kyrie, and Kyrie steps on the lucky little thing, lucky logo, and a lot of people are saying that's one reason why the fan threw the bottle at Kyrie. UKG came out and said you don't disrespect Lucky, which is the leprechaun. A Big Baby came out and said you don't do that. You can really get hurt doing that. Here's the thing. And it kind of goes back to the whole fan thing. People have an irrational connection to teams. Hell, players have an irrational connection to teams. Let's really sit here and think about. Let's just go with KG first of all. KG had a long stint with the Timberwolves. That didn't work. Went to Boston. He won a championship. Got at the end of the Boston, he started breaking down. They traded him to Brooklyn. Big Baby. Big Baby wins the championship in Boston. Bada bing, bada boom. Gets shipped. I believe he gets shipped to Orlando. The thing is, people have an irrational connection to the team. Hell, even I have an irrational connection. I don't know if you ever realized, but when I talk about Washington, either the football team, the basketball team, I always say we. We made a trade. We did this. That ain't got nothing to do with me. They don't even know I exist. But fans have an irrational connection to teams. They think that these teams are their teams. They think that these teams care about them. These players think these teams care about them. Now, it'd be different if it was like a Steph, if it was like a LeBron or something. But even still, do you think if Steph Curry wasn't hitting all them threes and bringing all the revenue in for Golden State, you think that they'd care if they look at Monte Ellis? Monte Ellis was a staple in Golden State. Steph is better than Monte, yes, but Steph makes more or brings in more money for the organization. They get him out of there. They get Monte out of there. It's like, for people to say and to justify the fan throwing the bottle at Kyrie because he stepped on a logo. And again, I'm not saying that Kyrie should have stepped on the logo. I mean, you do it's a logo. Not to mention people running up and down the court all the time. Do you think about it? People are upset that Kyrie at the end of the game went and stepped on the logo, but they don't care that you running up and down the court stepping on the logo the entire game. But because he did it at the end of the game, after, by the way, beating Boston by like 50,000 points, now that's the problem. So when KG comes back and says, "Hey man, you don't do that, man. You don't step on Lucky like that, man. Why is nobody gonna talk about Kyrie disrespecting the logo?" Bruh, the Celtics traded you. You think they care about you? They do not. These teams, basketball, football, soccer, look, these teams do not care about you if you do not help them. If you do not bring revenue, bring anything to the table. The Celtics traded you. Big Baby. Hey man, you don't do that, bro. You don't step on a logo. You don't do that, man. That's disrespectful. The Celtics traded you. To a rival at the time, which I think he got traded to the Orlando Magic. It's like, for people saying that it was justified for homie to throw the ball at Kyrie because he stepped on a logo, or people saying that Kyrie Kyrie should watch his back because he stepped on logo. It's crazy because the logo, you wake up every day and the logo ain't paying your bills. Look, I'm a Washington fan, but I know, I mean, they make moves. They ain't got nothing to do with me. They don't know I exist. Yes, I may have an irrational, and fans have an irrational connection to a team. When I talk about Washington, I say, we did this, we did that. But at the end of the day, I'm not over here. If hell, Washington's probably Washington's about to lose in the first round. I'm not about to then look up where Bradley Beal lives and say, why did you do this to us? Like, nigga, what? Or I'm not going to go to the game and see Joel Embiid, who probably just put 40 on our head, and throw a freaking Coke bottle at him. You're like, man, it's people want to say that it's not. And it's kind of a thin line because people want to throw racism in there, right? Honestly, don't think that it's racism. And I'll say this. I think it's talent level. I don't think it's racism. Because I heard people wouldn't do this to JJ Redick. People wouldn't do this to I don't know, a white player. Let me say this. I think there is a small percentage of racism in it. But I also think it's talent level. I think they're doing this to the most, like, they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't throw a bottle at Tyler Johnson. And no disrespect to Tyler Johnson, but Tyler Johnson is not as good as Kyrie. Never have been, never will be. So you don't get the same effect that you would if it was a Kyrie, if it was a Curry, if it was a Russell Westbrook, if it was a Trae Young. Like, you wouldn't get the same effect. I do think that there is racism as far as you're looking at these black athletes dominate a sport. And if you look at all the people this happened to, they've either been Caucasian or close to Caucasian. But I think it's just talent level, man. Because you wouldn't do this to the 12th person on the bench. You're doing this to someone that it makes a statement. You think that if now of course they'd care because they're still players, but you think that it would be as mainstream if someone dumped popcorn on Ro Neto? Now again, I know they're all players and stuff, and I'm not saying it's like it would be cool if you did it. You shouldn't do this to anyone. Players, non-players, athletes, non-athletes, you shouldn't disrespect someone like that. What I'm saying is, I think it's envy. People are envious that they can't do what Russell Westbrook does. They can't do what Kyrie does. They can't do what Trae Young does. Not to mention the fact that these players are killing your team. Trae Young was destroying and has been destroying the Nets. The Knicks this entire series. Russell Westbrook, even though he's had some crazy games, and we'll talk about in a second, Russell Westbrook he's damn near averaging a triple-double again in the playoffs. Kyrie is getting 39s and 40-point games on your favorite team. I think it's envy, man. It's envy for the fact that you look at Kyrie and say, I can't do that. And that envy turns into anger. It's envy that you're looking at Westbrook saying, damn, he's 6'3", yet he's dunking on people and doing all this, and you can't do it. So, man, and hey, KG, bruh, and all the people are saying, not just KG and Big Baby, but all the people that are saying that it's justified that a fan threw a projectile at Kyrie Irving because he stepped on a logo and left a team, by the way. Yet and still, a team will trade you. Look at DeMar DeRozan came out and said he loves everything about Toronto. He loves Toronto. He never wants to leave Toronto. Toronto is his second home. They traded his ass out there. They traded him quick as hell when they saw that Kawhi Leonard was available. Hell, Monte Ellis was a staple in Golden State. They traded him as soon as Steph Curry got on the scene and Klay Thompson got on the scene. and realize, oh, they can't really coexist. Like, you think these organizations really care about you? Yet and still, you're going to throw a projectile for an organization? You're going to throw a projectile at a player? Now imagine, and this is the thing that I think is the craziest. Imagine if, in fact, let's take a look at Malice in the Palace. A fan threw a whole thing of popcorn and soda at Ron Artest. Ron Artest beat the brakes off of him. And of course, we know the madness that ensued and everything. But they suspended Ron Artest the entire season, I believe. That's money taken out of his pocket because he was retaliating for something that someone did to him. But I'm almost sure they said that player gets banned, or that fan gets banned from the Pistons, like the Piston. I put money that fan can go into, if he's still alive, Lord willing, I put money that fan can go into a game right now. But Ron Artest ain't getting that money back that he was suspended for. Steven Jackson got suspended. Like, you're going to get the right one, bro. You're going to get the right one. You're going to get the right one. And when you do, just understand that this was asked for. Because you're playing with people. These are people that you're playing with. And a lot of those, most of the times, almost every time, them people ain't playing with you. That's all I'm going to say.